So the Pittsburgh Steelers lose in embarrassing fashion to the Houston Texans, 30-6, a game that I was present in and was completely disgusted. I just want to say that off the top. But today we're going to break down the film on the offensive passing plays. We're not going to look at every single play. We're going to look at just a few and kind of point out what's going on here. Is the scheme? I think the scheme is a big issue. Is it the quarterback? I think there's some issues still there. Or is it the offensive line? I would say that all three of them are an issue right now for the Pittsburgh Steelers. We're going to break into it. Let's get into it. So this is the first drive. This is after a couple of positive plays. And the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to do a play action pass here. Now, one of the things that I don't like about this is the fact that the Steelers are doing all this under center, and they haven't done anything under center that isn't either a run or play action pass. So what that allows the defense to do is to crash in, on the running back and or on the quarterback at the fake handoff. There's no newness to this. It's all the same stuff. Even though it's, there are options sometimes. There's been quite a few plays in this game where the Texans covered everybody. There was nowhere for Kenny to go. And although the score is pretty lopsided, I do think Kenny did have a little bit better of a game, but we'll break it down. So you have motion, and as you can see, nobody's moving, right? So that tells us that it's probably zone. It appears that the Steelers are going to be running like a flood concept where you're going to have your outside tight end come across, your tight end towards the play. Pat Futh in this situation, he's going to come up and then also come across. And you're going to have Connor Hayward come across and come open in the flat. Now, this play actually does kind of work. The issue is the line on this play. I don't know what to say. Now, you have this interior linebacker who's going to bite. He's going to bite hard on the play action pass. Kenny Pickett's going to. Now, what ends up happening is number 55, the outside edge, has just got a free run at everything. And he can, from this angle, that Kenny Pickett's not relatively that close to Jaylen Warren, and probably can tell that that is going to be a play action. It tackles him. And also, like you can see right here, that had it been successful, had Chukwuekorfor blocked this guy, it appears that Connor Hayward had some space. This was first down and 10, and it would make for a more manageable second down. Instead, they lose 8, and they're now down to 2nd and 18. See, Chukwuekorfor, I'm not sure what he's expecting here. Maybe he's thinking that Herbig is going to loop behind him, or another offensive lineman is going to loop in some sort of trap. But that doesn't make any sense. It's a play action pass. I don't know. I'm getting it. 55 is wide open. There's nobody to block him. This next play is the very next play in the game, and this is going to end up being the interception on the first drive. And one thing I don't like about it is the fact that it's the same play that the Steelers ran last week that was successful. It's kind of like Canada is thinking that the Texans aren't going to watch that tape or something. I don't know. In game, I will say that it did appear, where I was sitting in the end zone. So this pass was coming towards me. Calvin Austin was running towards where I was sitting at. And from my perspective, it did look like Kenny Pickett underthrew this ball and let it hang a little bit and allowed Nelson to get back and make a play on it. Let's see what it looks like from the side, though. So Calvin Austin is going up at the top. He's going to do a post. Nelson is still a few yards outside of him. I think it's a good decision. It's a good play for this type of formation for the players that are involved. Steven Nelson should not be keeping up with Calvin Austin. And I think that if Kenny Pickett leads Calvin on a little bit more towards the inside of the field and a little bit further, this could actually go for something. This safety here that's trying to catch up, that safety, he's not catching up, the one underneath, and Nelson's not going to be able to pick this off. This might actually go for a touchdown. But let's see how many air yards that was. So Pickett threw it from the 24. And to about the 25, about 49, 48, maybe 47 air yards there. It does seem to have landed like right in the middle of the field, which is not a problem. It just should have probably came down around maybe the 22. It's a little bit frustrating because this team is very splash play oriented. They're not going to be in games up to this point. They haven't shown that. They've shown that at least, unless there's some sort of splash either made by the offense or the defense, some sort of huge play. And that's not another formula for winning football. Coach Tomlin likes to say splash plays don't matter. This is also the thing that Dan Moore ends up tweaking his knee. Number 65, you're going to see to his right is Pat Freiermuth, and he's the Steeler on the outside of this screen. And it just appears that he kind of collides, I think, with either Pickett or another player there. And it looks like this is where he tweaked his knee. right there. Ooh, somebody hit him in the back. Cheeks core force taking his guy down, and they land on Dan Moore's knee and kind of hit in the side there. So here's where I've got a little bit frustrated when it comes to Kenny Pickett. As you can see, he's a lone person in the backfield. Everybody's spread out. Two receivers are going to go up and out towards the sideline. Up at the top, you have George Pickens doing that. Down at the bottom, you have, I believe that's Calvin Austin, who's going to be running that. You're going to have interior options that are basically going to go up and appear to go out, but then they're going to curl back in. And then you'll have a option at the very bottom that's going to be a go. I like this play. The Steelers end up making a completion. I just don't understand the direction here. I think this could have been a much bigger play. So as you can see, everybody's running in zone. Here's what bothers me. So you have at the top of the screen, you have 3 defenders running in zone with 2 options. And at the bottom, you have 3 defenders with 3 options. I don't understand why the first read is to the right. It doesn't make sense to me. Now, I'm not a coordinator or an offensive coach or a football player or any of those things. I'm just a guy that likes to watch football and watch a lot of it. I don't understand why it's to look up. I feel that number 2 in the green would probably be the most open in this play, given the formation and the space that's allotted and the amount of players for coverage. You know, you have 3 players covering 2 at the top of the screen in short side of the field. Just don't get it. And so as you can see, he's going to throw to George Pickens. He's open. However, had he thrown the same route on the bottom side of the field, he's got a chance to get Calvin Austin, and he's got a blocker in front of him. Jaylen Warren, too. So this is the very next play, the second down, and we're going to see Kenny Pickett just kind of lock in on one guy. And it's not a completed pass, but there were guys open on this play. Now, the pass is going to go to George Pickens at the top of the screen. You have what appears to be man across the board. You know, you have press coverage, but nobody's following Jaylen Warren when he can go motion. This is going to turn into a zone play, and kind of, I believe it does. Either way, it doesn't work. You have, like I said, a very similar situation that you had in the last play where at the top of the screen, you have 3 players guarding 1, George Pickens, and at the bottom of the screen, you have 4 Steelers, Muth as a tight end, Allen Robinson in the slot, Jaylen Warren behind the line of scrimmage, Calvin Austin on the outside. You only have three defenders on this side. I just don't understand why he looks to the top side first. And essentially, everybody's going to come open that's circled. And yet he throws it. This ended up being a pass interference, and the Steelers got a first down, but could have been another chance for a bigger gain. He just never looks to that side. That's a little bit later on the drive after a penalty by Pat Freiermuth, pushing the Steelers from 3rd and 4 to 3rd and 14. So again, it's just one thing and another with this team. Something they take a step forward, they go a couple steps back. 3rd and 14, you're not going to have a lot of plays in your playbook that's going to get the ball down the field that far. But I do think that there was an opportunity in this play for the first down. What do we notice? We notice that the cornerbacks are giving significant amount of cushion against the wide receivers. That tells me that they're probably running some sort of quarters where the field is basically broken down into 4, and you have 4 defensive backs play deep, and your inside linebackers are also going to end up playing deep as well. So right here you have the zone, and you have number 21 for the Houston Texans. His back is towards the sideline. You have Calvin Austin, who's going to be turning towards the sideline. Speedy guy. I think if Pickett throws it outside here, this is a first down at the very least. You have Pat Freiermuth, who does come open underneath. I think this one has a big opportunity. Kenny just don't see it, maybe. Let's see where he was looking at and the protection. Broderick Jones has been in this game. He looks good. Protection looks good. He's looking off to that side. He's looking off towards the left there. He's looking at Pat Freiermuth. I mean, if the fact that even though he threw to Pat Freiermuth and it was a completion, he threw it super late to him as well. You know, he had some on time. Maybe Pat can get upfield and do something. Kenny waits. He drifts to the wrong area and then decides to throw it. This is after the half where the Pittsburgh Steelers started to come out and do some things. This is on 3rd and 7. We're going to see progression. So right here, you see there's a lot of cushion between Calvin Austin and the cornerback. This kind of tells you, again, this is probably zone. These are the routes that are being ran. Given how much cushion that this defensive back is giving Calvin Austin, there's a good opportunity for being there. You also have Allen Robinson running up the seam, which is going to attract the linebacker right here to follow him and just kind of give an opportunity for this to be a first down. Kenny visualizes it. He sees it. The cornerback, look at that cushion. Look at when he's throwing the ball. The ball, he's already in motion. I think I would like to already have seen the ball out of his hand, but from what I have seen him, this is usually the time where he starts to wind. The fact that he's about to, let it rip is an improvement. But like I said, an NFL quarterback, the standard you want is maybe perhaps the ball being out of his hand at this point. Right read, right choice, accurate throw. Let's see what the offensive line was doing. Sayumalu did better in this game. I wonder if it's because he wasn't trying to help out Dan Moore so much. I thought Broderick Jones held his own for the most part. I know he was given a lot of flack because he was the guy that was blocking the dude that would eventually injure Kenny Pickett, but Kenny Pickett ran into that, and I'll show you that guy. That play in a minute. Had time, good throw. A little high, but good throw. So this is on the next drive. After a short punt, the Steelers needed to capitalize on this drive. They had opportunities to capitalize, and this ended up going for a field goal on this drive, but it should have been 6. If they're under center, it's either a play-action pass or a handoff, right? In this situation, it's going to be a play-action pass. You're going to see Kenny Pickett do the play-action, and it's going to have all of these linebackers bite in. You're going to have George Pickens come open in the zone behind him. I'm not sure what happened, so I don't know why it's not a touchdown. So you can see Kenny Pickett looking in that direction from this point of view. Right here, the linebackers have bitten in. They're now trying to get back in position. The inside linebacker towards the bottom of the screen is looking towards his direction. The linebacker next to him, number 46, is looking up because that's where he needs to go. And you have the corner that's covering over George Pickens running back. So there's a big hole right there, and Kenny Pickett's looking at it. Know why he didn't throw it. Instead, he runs into trouble. You even have number 5 here pointing at 14 like, hey. Steelers end up making a completion, passes it to Pat Fryermuth. He got positive yards, but that should have been a much bigger game. I don't see this being on Canada. I see this being on the line. This is 100% on Kenny Pickett. He's looking at that area right there. You can see number 5 and number 18 are looking in opposite directions. It's a clear path. It's a clear throwing lane. Just got to hit it with anticipation. And he doesn't, and he runs right in. Look at how open this area is to the right. Instead, he runs to the left or to his right and into trouble. His pocket presence and awareness is subpar, in my opinion. When you go and you see a CJ Stroud and what he was able to do when a pressure was applied, he was able to alleviate pressure correctly. If he was able to step up into the pocket and find those avenues for him to get out. And when he got out on the run, he found receivers down the field and he made accurate throws to them down the field. It seemed like the Steelers had the rookie that was 21 years old and the Texans had a savvy 25-year-old second-year quarterback that's experienced, that has a high ceiling or a high floor. It's unfortunate, but I got to be honest on this one. So this is a couple plays later. It's 3rd down. What we're seeing here is on the bottom of the screen, when I have circle is Pickens, his route is going to be come in a little bit, go up, and then go back out towards the sideline. As you notice that his defensive back is in press, which is a pretty good indication that it's going to be man, to the bottom side. On the top side, you have a lot of cushion. You see where Calvin Austin is. I have the circled cornerback. There's a lot of cushion up there. This more than likely is going to be a zone type of play. You guys know where I like to go with the zone. The soft part of the zone is between where that number 30 is and that hash mark on the inside of that field. So you have Allen Robinson and Calvin Austin running a zone beater concept at the top. And I think that you have the same thing at the bottom, which is like a flood concept where you have one receiver run towards the bottom in the flat and you have another receiver come up at the top. It's designed during a zone play to put stress on the cornerback. If he goes up to cover the top receiver in that area, you throw it to the bottom one. If he crashes down, you throw it to the top one. I just feel that in this scenario, just pre-snap, what I would be seeing if I was a quarterback. And again, I'm not a quarterback. I may have played Madden a handful of times, so that's about it. I would look at the top of the screen as far as the primary, based on what I'm reading. Now, I understand that that may not be the play that's called, or the direction of the play is to go in this direction, or whatever the case may be. But as a quarterback, if you see something here that is not going to work, and you know the concept behind you might. I think that's what makes certain quarterbacks good. They can identify that and then hit it, right? You're Tom Brady, who doesn't have like elite arm strength or arm talent, but he was able to find the open guy every time. Brock Purdy up to this point, who, everybody says is pretty equivalent to Kenny Pickett, he's able to find the open guys. And I know people say, oh, well, he's got Shanahan offense. Well, Brock Purdy also had like a 95 on his football IQ test coming in to the NFL when drafted. Kenny Pickett got a 17. So there might be some other differences there. Now let's watch this play. So Kenny Pickett is eyeing the two receivers, the flood concept at the bottom of the screen. It just doesn't come open. But at the top of the screen, and there's a chance there if Kenny Pickett throws it, which he's already off. He's actually looking in that direction, but the ball should have already been there if this was going to be a completion. There may have been a little bit of pressure there. And he throws a good pass to Najee Harris, who I think the credit on this play should probably be given more towards Najee. That was an incredible catch. On the pass that probably could have been intercepted. It's behind him. He catches it while falling and gets up and runs with it. So Kenny Pickett's going to wind and throw. This ball needs to be in front of Najee Harris, in front of Najee. But look, it's hitting him in the back shoulder. This is exactly what I was talking about. Now, I understand Kenny Pickett's on the move in this situation. But when he was throwing slants and warm-ups, this is where the ball was hitting the receivers. Najee gets up, makes a beautiful play. This play here was on Najee. He had a good game. This is the next play. This should have been a touchdown. This really should. You have zone by the defense, and there's going to be an opening in the middle of the defense. Basically, one of your middle linebackers playing high zone there in the middle, and he's going to be covering George Pickens, who is what Allen Robinson does, though, is he attracts the two defensive backs in the back. Your other safety at the top of the screen has to cover his side of the field, so he goes towards the top of the screen. So it's really going to leave a big hole in the middle of the field. George Pickens needs to come up with this play. I think that this should have been a touchdown. So right here, you see you have this linebacker in close proximity to George Pickens, looking at him, a huge opening in the end zone. And you have the two defensive backs who are preoccupied by Allen Robinson right up here near the goal line. I think George Pickens is expecting the ball to get there a little bit quicker. It did take a little bit of time to get there. Let me rewind that. Ball should have been through. Yeah, it's a little bit. That's ticky-tacky. He should have caught that. That's ticky-tacky. Maybe he could have thrown it a little bit quicker, a little bit faster, but nah. George Pickens should have caught this. Right there. It's in his hands. He's coming down 2 feet in bounds. So he allows this linebacker to break it up. That should have been 6. Now, here's a play that Kenny Pickett's getting a lot of flack for because Connor Hayward ends up coming open at the top of the screen. I think that at the time that Kenny Pickett had to throw the ball, he made the right read and decision. The offensive line failed him on this situation. He had to throw the ball. When he threw it, it ended up costing the Steelers, a touchdown, and they ended up kicking a field goal. But this is the concept that you have. You're going to have two receivers go up towards the top sideline in the end zone. Calvin Austin's going to come inward towards the field. Basically, they're going to make it very difficult for this cornerback. He's going to have to choose between the lower route, which is ran by Allen Robinson, or the top ran by Connor Hayward. We have Allen Robinson appearing to run towards the sideline. And I think that's what Kenny wants him to do. He looks open right here. You have Connor Hayward's defensive back over top of him. Appears that he's going to take Connor Hayward. Down at the bottom, you have Roderick Jones about to lose his battle with the edge and Mason Cole doing the same. So Kenny needs to make this throw now. Unfortunately, he's not on the same page with Allen Robinson. He stops the cornerback. As you can see, Kenny's already hit. The cornerback led off of Hayward and came down on Allen Robinson. Just miscommunication, miss opportunity. Again, the offensive line really failed in this one as well. So on this play, it really wasn't Kenny Pickett's fault. It's Mason Cole who's losing. If your back is facing the sideline like Mason Cole is right now, that can't happen. That just can't happen. This is what was an issue. Kendrick Green found himself facing the sideline, trying to block multiple times. You can't be doing that as an interior offensive lineman. It's just, it doesn't make any sense. Like, this guy played well last year. He had a bum leg. Still has James Daniels to his right. He has Isaac Samuel to his left. Apparently supposed to be an improvement. Mason Cole's just not showing up here, y'all. So Kenny had to make that throw. He couldn't hold on to it any longer. If he did, that's going backwards. This is the next drive. And in this play, I think Kenny makes the right read, right decision. He just is a little bit late. Like I mentioned before, in warm-ups when they were doing the comebacks, it wasn't until the receiver made their break when Kenny Pickett was throwing the ball. And this seems to be the kind of the scenario here. He made this play a lot more difficult than it should have. The Houston Texans are running a zone defense here. And as I said before, that area between the numbers, where the numbers are printed, and the hash marks are typically your sweet spots in the zone. And that's going to be the case here. Kenny Pickett reads this correctly. It's his first read. And the thing is, the ball should already be out of his hand. And as I mentioned before, in one of the plays where I said, hey, he's already throwing the ball. Usually he would still be winding up at this moment with the pass to Calvin Austin. This is what I'm talking about. The ball should actually be out of Kenny Pickett's hands right now. Like, not down the field, not halfway to George Pickens, but this ball should be just left Kenny Pickett's hand. And yet he just starts his windup, and it makes this pass so much more difficult. George Pickens, he has to do some special things to try to get closer to the first down. But like I said, I don't get it. I don't get it. Now let's look at the protection. Good protection. I like what Broderick Jones was able to do there. He assisted Isaac Samuel, and he saw the stunting defensive coming across. He was able to get back to his area of the field and block him and looked impressive blocking him. And why this worries me is because he does this in practice or in warmups. And if he's doing this in practice and warmups, I don't think we should expect to change. I don't think he's being taught this, because when I'm watching the other quarterbacks in warmups, they're throwing before the break. Kenny's not. I think that's a problem with anticipatory throws and possible accuracy on throws where he's supposed to try to figure out where the receiver is going to be. Could that get better with chemistry? I don't know. He's had George Pickens. This is the second year with George. He's been on the team with Pat Freiermuth, Najee Harris. Deontay Johnson was a guy that we expected to take a huge role or be that guy for Kenny Pickett, but he got hurt. You got to be able to pick up the slack with somebody else, with Calvin Austin. Last season he mentioned that he had a great connection with Calvin Austin because of the fact that, remember, he was a third stringer, so he would practice, and the players that he had an opportunity to practice with during training camp and things like that were the fourth, fifth string wide receiver. And so up until the point where Calvin Austin got injured, he was one of the receivers that Kenny Pickett was working with quite a bit. So you would think that, given the offseason, given the fact that this is already the fourth game of the year, Deontay Johnson got hurt in week one, that there should be some sort of chemistry, that he would be able to throw the ball in a timely manner. It's just one of the more frustrating things about his play. So this is the very next play, and this is going to end up being the play that takes Kenny Pickett out. It's the 4th and 1. Everybody's upset about the play call. I get it. You don't want to go in shotgun formation, but I guarantee you, if the Steelers go in under center and they hand the ball off to Najee and they don't get it, everybody's going to be like, oh, they were expecting that. They knew you were going to run up the middle. So a fan base and everybody are outcome oriented when it comes to these type of plays. And I understand it. I get it 100%. But, this is a long one. As you can see, they have to get to the other side of the 32, and they're on the opposite side of the 33 just by a little bit. So it's a very long yard. Should Kenny Pickett get it on a quarterback sneak? Possibly. Should Najee Harris be able to get that? Yeah. If you can't get a yard, you don't deserve to win. Isn't that the saying that coach used quite a bit? But let's look at the play. Let's dissect it. It may not have been the play that most of us would have chosen, but would it have worked had it been executed correctly? So right now we can tell that Kenny Pickett has a very clean pocket up to this point. But right here, you have several receivers that are going to come open. You have Najee Harris that's going out to the flat. You have the receiver at the top of the screen going towards the weak part of the zone. That's coming open. And you have Connor Hayward, who is in position to make a play here if Kenny Pickett throws it to him. He's got his defensive back cornered out. You have 3 different options here to make a play, and I'm not sure what Kenny's doing right now. He's leaving the pocket, and he runs right into trouble again. This happened a few times. In fact, the sack that was accredited to Max Crosby last week was a very similar situation to this. Kenny gets knocked down. He ends up going down and getting hurt. It was completely avoidable. Shouldn't have happened. Kenny had options to throw the ball to. He had great pass protection. If you're going to leave, the pocket, you want to step up into the pocket. He's playing like I played Madden when I first started, and I would just back up and run around and run backwards. Not successful formula for real life NFL. Watch the protection. So right here, Seumalo appears to have gotten beat. Maybe Kenny sees that out of his corner of his eye, but Seumalo at this point, he's got him. Now, if Kenny's going in the pocket, the direction that he needs to go is move up between Seumalo and Broderick Jones and move up in that direction. That's the direction you're supposed to run. Had Pickett up into the pocket, he wouldn't have gotten hurt, and he probably would have found somebody open. It would have been a first down, and this game would have been way different. The Steelers end up scoring a touchdown on this drive. It would have been 13-16 and a completely different ball game. Instead, the team was deflated. It felt like it was going to be a loss. Houston Texans scored quite a bit of points in garbage time to make it 30-6. At this time, I think that there's a possibility that Kenny Pickett plays, but I think it's more of a strategic thing. And he doesn't play. I know at the press conference earlier today, Coach Tomlin seemed to have left the door open for that. And he made a comment stating something to the effect that they're singularly focused on the next game and they're trying to win that game. Maybe we should start thinking about the entire season. Would it be, if Kenny Pickett is indeed the best quarterback on the team, wouldn't it be smart to hold him until after the bye, let him get healthy? Why put him out there, let him get hurt again? What happened to RG3, I think, a bone bruise, but he significantly impacted his career and his game by going back out there and playing injured. I don't think it's a smart decision. I think I play Mitch. He's not my favorite quarterback, but he is what we have at this point. I do think that the Steelers are probably going to open up the playbook a little bit under Mitch Trubisky because he's a veteran. He understands NFL concepts a little bit better. And if we end up seeing that this day against the Baltimore Ravens, then I think that's a pretty clear indication that the offensive coordinator and the Pittsburgh Steelers don't trust Kenny Pickett with a more complex game plan. They don't trust him to make audibles. They don't trust him to make protection changes because he hasn't maybe shown that he's figured it out. I don't know. That's going to be a big clue. If it's as simple as it is now, then that's going to be a big clue that the problem is definitely Matt Canada and he needs to go during that bye week. So it's going to be an interesting game to watch and see what happens. This is the first play that Mr. Trubisky ran. And as you can see, there's a lot of cushion there. It's going to be a zone. He makes the right read, right decision, and throws it out there. It's a little bit late on it too, but Calvin Austin's pretty quick. I would have liked to have seen him throw it a little bit earlier, but I think he was looking off. Yeah, he's looking one direction, then he turns, then throws. So it looks like he was going through his progressions. I think I would have looked at Calvin first just based on that. Risky is who he is. He's not a great quarterback. He's probably a little bit maybe the same as Kenny Pickett, in my opinion. I don't see a difference between the two. Pocket presence isn't the best. Decisions when under pressure aren't the best. Yeah, I see a very similar quarterback. So right here, what I think that Trubisky's trying to do is the two safeties go back. I think he's seeing this cornerback because he's kind of looking at the bottom side of the field. On the bottom side of the field, it does look like it's zone, but on the top side of the field, it appears that George Pickens is running with his coverage guy in man. And I think what Trubisky is trying to do is hit that whole shot out here. But if it's only going to work a receiving option that is going to come out over here to pull the cornerback down. Since there isn't a receiving option here to pull the cornerback down, the whole shot's not going to work here. And it doesn't. Almost gets intercepted. So that's all we're going to have today. Let me know in the comment section what you guys think. Let me know what you guys think about the progressions that are going on with the team. Let me know what you guys think about who's to blame. I, for one, think that Matt Canada needs to go, whether it's now or later, but I think he needs to go. And the Steelers need to come up with somebody an offensive minded coach that maybe has a proven record, maybe is under a coach, an offensive minded coach. Think of Eric Bieniemy or, where he was under Andy Reid and everybody knew that Andy Reid was actually calling the plays. Maybe we find a guy like that is under the shadow or in the shadow of a great offensive play caller who really hasn't had their opportunity, but has been around successful offenses. In today's offense, bring in someone like that and let him bring in a quarterback of his choice, whether it's somebody in the draft, whether it's someone in free agency, or Kenny Pickett himself. He might, think that he can save this, and that maybe perhaps it was a coaching thing, and that Kenny Pickett can be that guy. So I'll be putting out some more clips and some more footage. Make sure you like and subscribe, ring that notification bell. Then we'll see you next time. Peace.